New Year's Day 2025, and the rain is tumbling down here in southwestern Massachusetts on the banks of the Housatonic River. And no, I'm not going fishing. I'm not that crazy. What I'm doing is I'm introducing you to a series that we're going to be bringing you on this channel over the next couple of years on the events that ultimately lead to this obelisk being laid here on the banks of the Housatonic. We're going to be doing a series on what is called King Philip's War, a great conflagration that marked New England from Maine all the way to Connecticut onto the borders of New York. It was a life and death struggle fought between neighbors, between people that had traded and lived side by side for more than 50 years. An end to a great period of peace and cooperation between peoples. The monument behind me is a marker to the last battle of that war, when maybe 250 native people from southwestern Massachusetts, river tribes people, Minnemessets, Quabogs, Agawams, Nonotucks, Norwatucks, were trying to get away and join their kin not far away on the other side of the valley here, on the slopes of the Taconic, which were the home of the Mohican people who hadn't become involved in the war and were related as kin with these people. Here, Major Talcott cut off their retreat and punished them badly, although some did escape. This marks the last battle of a very bloody, very awful war. King Philip's War is a forgotten conflict overwhelmed by the great French and Indian Wars and the American Revolution. It's a war that created New England, the New England that is bereft of native people, or a New England where the native people that live here as second-class citizens. King Philip's War begins 100 miles to the east of where we're standing, and it'll rage for more than a year. And when it's over, the native people, as a free people, are lost. Join me in this series where we'll talk about the peoples involved, the causes, great battles and campaigns of the war, as well as the major characters on both sides that will mark the conflict. People that you might have heard of, like Mary Rollinson, people that you probably haven't heard of at all, like Muddawump of the Minnemesset. We're going to be trying to make videos that are 10 to 15 minutes in length, so they won't be overwhelmingly long. Although when it's all over, I'll probably put it together into an entire production. It seems fitting to start the series where it all came to an end, if it did come to an end. So I hope you enjoy. Let me know in the comments what you think, and it's a series in process. So maybe you can, as a friend of the channel, get involved. 300 years ago, in the icy waters of Assawompset Pond in southwestern Massachusetts, the Misadventure led the peoples of New England to go to war with one another. In some cases, it was a civil war, and in all cases, it would completely change the people involved. While today, we like to simplify what is known as King Philip's War into a struggle between the English and the native people, in reality, there were dozens of native tribes and half a dozen or more English colonies. Each of these, both English and Amerindian, with their own unique and competing interests. The Wampanoag, who had welcomed the Pilgrims in 1620, shown here in their peace village at Assawompset, were the first to rise, and they would soon be followed by the peoples of the fresh water known as the Nipmuc. The war would soon spread to all First Nation tribes in southern New England, northern New England, and beyond. Neutrality was impossible, and even the English colony of New York, which had so recently been taken from the Dutch, would become involved. This war would be the costliest that would ever afflict the people of what is now the United States in terms of money and losses. And it all began here on this pond with John Sassamon, who was not only a Wampanoag and member of Sachem Philip or Metacom's councils, but a converted Christian and praying Indian who had his own congregation purportedly. Sassamon was a man of two worlds, caught between the lure of English technology, apparent superiority in alcohol, and his own people's traditions. He, probably looking to get away for a time, had decided to go ice fishing on Assawompset Pond, and ice fishing was a huge part of the lives of the native tribal peoples of southern New England, where it was, like hunting, a man's job. And Sassamon would use several techniques to catch fish in Assawompset Pond, including netting, spearing, and baiting. And he would be looking to take the fish that he acquired in an outing and either trade them or use them for sustenance for himself or his family. Be that as it may, he went ice fishing and never returned. A short time later, Sassamon's body would be found under the ice, throat slit from ear to ear. The English would be extremely grieved, more upset than they should have been, probably because Sassamon had been acting as a spy inside Philip's councils, and they wanted to know what had happened. The native people explained that he had clearly fallen through the ice and probably slit his throat on the extremely sharp shards of ice. The English, however, cried impossible and immediately looked at the incident as murder. They would bring 3 of Philip's war sachems to Plymouth, where they were forced to confront the body, which, of course, bled again. And you know, in English tradition, a body, when it sees its murderers, will bleed again to convict. These men would then be placed on trial for a murder most foul. And that's where we're going to pick it up when we visit our next episode of King Philip's War here on Fishing Historic Places. Hope you've enjoyed and stay tuned.